they had a small child in a roller, like a stroller.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, it's like a photorealistic dummy child with real skin.
It was terrifying.
Horrifying.
And like the limbs were like actually like they had weight to them and stuff.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. If I saw that at night, like just like sitting in my house and I walked out.
Oh, dude, I the last bullet's for me.
Shit.
When I don't see that thing die, I kill myself. Just immediately. Just gun goes in my mouth.
Oh my God.
You're listening to the Art and War podcast with your hosts, Mitch and Nathan. Mitch is a former airborne infantry squad leader who now spends most of his time coaching soccer. Nathan is a professional illustrator and an avid shooter with a couple of years of Canadian military experience. Together, they run the Seaburn art page. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Uganda.
Okay. So I'm going to say we don't really have an intro again because it drives BR fucking mad. But anyways, we are here for the first time recording live with, I guess, Isaac's going to hate this because he records live with me basically every time. We are here for the first time in America recording live with PSR.
Hello. Back again.
We're in the same room drinking fucking Dunkin' Donuts. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep tonight.
Oh no, we're fucked.
We're deep into some double D's. If you know what I mean.
8:30 at night, and we're just going to be really fucked up off this caffeine. We've spent, the last couple of days mag dumping into cars and shooting machine guns inside a storage container in the middle of downtown Redacted.
It's been a good time.
It's been a good fucking time. It's been a wonderful time, and we've been, broing out and bonding. And there's one thing I would like to complain about in America, which is holy fuck, everything. I have to get this off my chest right now.
Go ahead.
Everything has so much fucking sugar in it. Holy shit.
Oh yeah. We're the number one leader in obesity for a reason. Okay.
Oh dude, we're not far behind you.
We that's a badge of honor for us. We load our food with sugar. You know what I'm saying? We go hard in the paint with the fructose.
The high fructose. So we went to Waffle House. Everyone was like, "Hey, Nathan, you're in Redacted. So you have to go to Waffle House at 2 a.m." And we didn't go at 2 a.m. We went at like 6 or something. And I mean, the waiter was super nice, but he looked like he was just there to kind of like feed his meth addiction. Super nice, but
good guy.
Yeah, but every single thing I saw, like the butter, it's like the butter wasn't butter; it was like palm oil and
hydrogenated soybean oil,
and palm oil, and the maple syrup was just fucking corn syrup. It was all.
That's not maple syrup.
No, I mean, Jesus.
I'm from the north. I'm from very close to the Canadian border in Vermont, and if anyone calls that maple syrup, they should be condemned to hell.
Yeah, no, I hate how good it tastes though. But at the same time, like I got sick for like an hour and a half afterwards. I felt like shit.
You took a shit. You took a couple shits, I think.
Not going to confirm or deny. I'm a cybernetic organism. I don't need to. No. It
Nathan's
fucked up my
just
gears.
like girls. He doesn't poop.
I'm like Kim Jong-un. I run at 100% efficiency.
No waste here.
0. But yeah, no.
What else is shocking about America to you, or the United States of America?
The amount of fucking advertisements for lawyers. They're everywhere. Like, yes. I was in the Dominican last week. Every single ad was for a real estate person. I'm in Redacted, and every single ad is for a lawyer. It's like, oh, you slipped and fell. Better call Saul. You got in a car accident. You better call Ken. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, it is. It is weird, and the amount of billboards we have. In my home state of Vermont, they're actually illegal.
Really?
Yeah.
To have billboards for lawyers?
Billboards? No. To have billboards at all.
Oh.
In the state of Vermont is illegal. We're the only state, I believe, that has that.
Dude, that's kind of...
But not where we're at in Redacted.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. It's you are slacking if you don't put up a billboard for your bald lawyer.
Or literally everything. It's like, hey, by the way, you can get an MRI for like $400 if you want. Or, you slipped and fell, it's free until you get a payout. Don't pay until you get paid. The lawyer advertisements are fucking wild. Like Better Call Saul and all of that. I thought that was just like over dramatized.
No,
for humor, but no, it's real. It's all real.
It's absolutely real. And speaking of billboards, what do you think of the metropolitan area that we're in? The traffic situation.
You've been waiting to ask that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh my god. So I have people drive like fucking psychopaths here. I feel like I'm going to die. I'm not even in the driver's seat. I feel like I'm going to fucking die. No one signals. Like there was a moment where PSR and I were boxed in between like 3 box trucks, like 18 wheelers. One of them was carrying like pipes.
Yeah.
It was a whole Final Destination situation, and all of them were driving like maniacs.
No signals. One of them passed me. And I was going like 75, and he passed me going like 80, 85. In not like an 18-wheeler, but it had 6 wheels, and it was like the size of a moving truck.
Yeah.
And it was like high, very tall, just flying, no signal around me. And then we had the 18-wheelers on each side behind me. And it's and also, you pointed it out to me. I didn't really notice it that much. I mean, just because it's every day, but there's a lot of dead cars on the side of the road here.
Dude, it's fucking weird. I've never seen that. I think the last time I saw that was like Abu Dhabi, like 15 years ago. Or just dead cars everywhere. Just, we're driving down the highway of Redacted, and there's just like a dead car that clearly hasn't been touched in a little bit with its hood popped. And I don't know if they bother taking the VIN number off and like taking the license plate off and just leaving it there, or if they just say fucking hail a cab.
Yeah, the other day I saw a truck, big old Chevy lifted Silverado. It didn't look that old. Maybe it was like 2014 or something. It had its whole front wheel rim, like 2 wheels were removed, like the tires. It was just sitting on, like someone came and
just took the tires.
Took them, yeah.
That's some real wheels. Like Skid Row sort of weird shit. Like
except it's on the interstate and a major highway.
And a major highway where a lot of people like I don't even know how many accidents we've passed since we got here.
Oh, it's like you can't even count it on 2 hands. It's a lot.
It's a fucking lot.
Yeah. This is the way it is here, though. You gotta keep your head on swivel.
Yeah, I've complained about American car dependent infrastructure before, but that's like in the Pacific Northwest where people know how to drive. Here, it's like the same kind of problems, but everyone drives like a fucking retard.
Yes, I will confirm this.
Yeah,
it's not just a wild Canadian's perspective. It's actually true.
Yeah, it's like I thought the Quebecers drove bad, and I was saying to him initially when we were heading through the airport, it's like, holy fuck, people drive almost as bad as a Quebecer. And no, it's about the same, I think. Like in Quebec, I had people like screeching to a halt in the middle of the street, getting out of their car and running into buildings. No one signals. Speed limits are a suggestion. And here it's the same way, except there's billboards for lawyers everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, the major thing that you got to worry about is when you're driving and one lane to your right, maybe like the traffic will be completely stopped. And then the lane you're in like hasn't come to a stop yet. There's traffic ahead of you. But so you're going like one lane's going 80 and the other lane's completely stopped. Like that's the terrifying thing. Because then it's like you have to just be ready to slam on those brakes. You better have good brakes. But yeah, anyway, we're still alive.
We're knock on wood. We got one more day to kill me and in a fiery ball of burning wreckage and death. But yeah, no, these last couple of days have been good. We visited a movie prop where do we want to take this out?
No, we can talk.
We can talk to. Yeah, thank you to our friend Matt Saranowski. We visited a movie prop warehouse and saw kind of where the magic was made. I don't think we're allowed to talk about some of the stuff that we saw, but
in general, it was really cool to see some of these, like actual firearms, real guns, real pre-sample, machine guns. Yeah, these Mac 10 45s that are totally transferable machine guns. And not only that, I mean, there was ARs. They had what other transferable ones did they have? They had the MP5s. Were transferable. Those were transferable, right?
Yeah,
those are got to be. I mean, German MP5s.
Yeah,
made in Germany, full auto transferable MP5s. must be those worth 50
Yeah,
50 grand
at least.
maybe at least. Yeah.
Yeah,
Insane, dude. I slapped a real German MP5.
same. Like, oh my god, we got to mag dump some 9mm, and it was
a APC 9, the regular model, and we were shooting blanks, and the cyclic rate on, for whatever reason, on the blanks was very fast.
Yeah. Did you get the burst to work, or was it just full auto?
I think it was just, I think maybe I think the guy, the armorer that we were talking to, I think he thought it was the APC 223, because I think the APC 223 maybe has a burst, but for whatever reason, I couldn't find, there was no click in between full auto and semi.
Yeah.
So I figured it was just only full auto and semi. But the burst, you could do 4 with, I mean, I don't know if I could do 3. That's how fast.
Yeah.
It was like four shots per pull,
Dude,
basically.
It's a smile machine.
Oh, yeah.
Machine guns. I fucking love them.
Yeah. And when you're in a warehouse, inside of a railroad, what is it? What was it again? It was just like a box.
It was a storage container.
Yeah, we were inside of a storage container, inside of a warehouse, shooting full auto. It's a full auto B&T and APC 9 without bullets coming out, without projectiles. So you can just, I'm upset that I didn't like try to do it one-handed or just like flail around.
Yeah.
Because I tried to, like, I was acting like I was, like actually shooting because of course
like commando.
we shoot guns, but this is like, there's no projectiles coming out. Obviously you have to point it down range, but like, you can, like the guy was saying, I have to test these because actors are going crazy, like while they're shooting these, they're doing these absurd, limp wristing, doing absurd motions. He's like, I flail around with these just to make sure that they're reliable, because if they're not reliable on set, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, no, I can see that being a fucking problem. But yeah, this trip has been friggin' wonderful.
I'm curious what you would pick out of all of the guns that were in that real gun. There was one section where it was just all real guns. There was some fake guns, but there was one section where it was locked up. There was all real guns. If you had to choose one, if you could choose one single gun.
But for what purpose? Just like have? Like,
just to have. If you had to pick one for your collection, what would you pick?
If let's say like everything in that lockup, I would. If I had to have one gun for fun in my collection and just like take it home with me, be that fucking transferable MP5. No two ways around.
Yeah. I feel that. Yeah. Damn, dude. Yeah. It'd be hard for me not to do that too.
Yeah.
It would be kind of, though, between that and that APC 223. Just it's like the action on it is so smooth, and it's just, I wonder what that's like to shoot full auto. I don't know that much about that gun. I've never fired one, but I mean, I love just how precise and nice B&T is. But that MP5, I might pick that too. I mean, there were AKs, there was a Galil, there was a bunch of M16s that were full auto, and then the Macs were pretty sweet.
Dude, it was good.
It was oh so sweet. They had the UMPs in there too, actually. I don't think they were full auto though.
I have no idea. Like genuinely, I was just like kid in a candy store. Stone surprise.
Oh my god! Then some of the props that they had, not even guns, were really fascinating. There was a whole drug section.
There's a whole drug section. Like you could walk in and like there was a little shelf that said cocaine, $1.50 a bag, and there's all these dime bags of fake cocaine.
Yep, dime bags of fake cocaine. They had like Percocets. They had Adderalls. They had a big jar of weed that looked nothing like weed. Not that I would know or anything. Never seen weed.
Weed is bad. It's federally illegal, and we don't like anything that's federally illegal.
Never seen that in my life, but it just didn't look very realistic. They had joints that were rolled up of God knows what, but it was interesting. Oh, then they had
like oregano,
huge packs of like heroin looking things.
Just like the fucking giant Tupperware bins full of like keys of coke.
Yes, that's always good. And then they had a small child in a roller, like a stroller. That was terrifying.
It's like a photorealistic dummy child with real skin.
It was terrifying.
Horrifying.
And like the limbs were like actually like they had weight to them and stuff. It was terrifying. If I saw that at night, like just like sitting in my house and I walked out.
Oh, dude, I the last bullet's for me.
Shit.
When I don't see that thing die, I kill myself. Just immediately. Just gun goes in my mouth.
Oh my God. It's terrifying. That thing is, I will not forget that.
That horrifying thing.
Yeah.
Apparently that thing costs like $10,000. Which
No
makes sense.
way.
Like, if anything, you kind of appreciate more the work that goes into just like every small aspect of a movie, and then it makes sense. Like, someone had to airbrush every detail of that skin, like the amount of work it takes to like sculpt, mold, cast, make a photorealistic human figure. It's like the sheer man hours of skilled labor is insane.
Yeah, it had weight to it.
Yeah.
That's what the thing is. Probably when they're doing it, rolling around the kid in the movie, they want the legs to bump when they go over the sidewalks to like they would a normal human being, and everything like physics wise needs to look real. And it's you take that shit for granted. But with all the other props, I mean, they had how many plate carriers and fucking Molly vests that they have? They had like this giant rack of plate carriers, like probably, I don't know, there was probably like 500 or 600 of them.
Dude,
there.
Absolutely, at least. And a question I've had in my mind for a long time, like I'm watching movies, like, well, what's a new action movie? Well, like by new, I mean it's like a year old, with Chris Hemsworth on Netflix, where he plays like a special forces dude, plate carrier.
Oh yeah, I've seen the imagery from that. I don't know what the name of it is,
but I always see movies like that. They always have 511 plate carriers. They always have, and they answer the questions like, where do they get all this stuff? It's companies will send items that they want to be in movies, and the prop houses they get them.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, you want to promote your brand, and also I mean, have your 511 carrier show up in some Navy SEAL episode of a Navy SEAL show. Like, why
you
not?
Want an ACOG to show up in something? You want
Trigicon. I mean, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, Trigicon, I'll make a movie if you send me an ACOG.
Yeah. Hey, Trigicon employees, please send us things. Please.
This episode is brought to you by Advanced Warfighting Solutions. Advanced Warfighting Solutions, they have quite literally everything that you need to be a lethal, super cool Instagram operator, and also just a super cool actual operator, or just a super cool civilian, or just whatever the fuck you want. They have battle belts, plate carriers, assault packs, pretty much anything nylon, they got it. So be sure to check them out. Use code ARTMORE10 on an SMU war belt, and you'll save some money. We don't get any kickback, you just save money. Huge thank you to them for supporting the show.
How's it going, lads and ladies? I'm BR, producer of the show, here to take a quick break to tell you about our Patreon. Not only do we want to continue improving the quality of what we can do here on Art and War, but we want to push what we do all over at Seaburn Art, from the guides to pursuing video content and the lofty goal of having a space for our team to make it all happen, and the Patreon helps us get after it. But what's in it for you? Our Patreon subscribers enjoy 5 different tiers of exclusive perks, ranging from all of the content the lads would post on a pre-Zuckerberg Instagram, downloadable high-resolution guides and targets including Redcoats, Skinwalkers, John Harvey Kellogg, World Economic Forum cult leaders, and more. Also, behind-the-scenes info like Nathan's personal art, spicy memes, and at our highest tier, get monthly art commissions created by Nathan himself. You can find our Patreon via the link in this episode's description at patreon.com/SeaburnArt or in the Seaburn Art page's bio on Instagram. Now let's get back to the show.
But yeah, no, it's like somewhere needs a bunch of plate carriers for a movie with two. Like I've worked in the film industry just like long enough to know when they need something now.
Yeah.
Like things are, we have infinite money. Please let us give you money, but we need things like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, like we need a 20-hour turnaround.
Yeah.
And how many companies keep enough stock of plate carriers on them to meet that demand?
Yeah,
511 does.
Yeah, the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It's always cool when you see companies that are smaller that are posting like, oh, this thing showed up in this movie, and you're like, oh wow, how did that happen? But it's probably some guy on the set who knows about tactical shit or runs that plate carrier or something. Is like, these are the people we should go with. And that's always cool to see smaller companies too, like being featured in some films. I've seen that a little here and there. Obviously, 511's not that potent. They're huge, but it's cool watching flicks and you're like, oh wow, that's cool. I know that plate carrier, or I know that piece of gear, or that's a weird gun they're using or something.
Just the like weird gun autism we have, like gun and gear autism. But yeah, other than that, we shot a lot. We shot a lot of gun.
We did. I mean, we must have gone through. Yeah, we went through some serious. We went through some 9mm the most, I'd say, which is fine because I had plenty of it, so I was totally cool with just
burning it down.
But
we had this torso and head Barnaby Jones that we just like shoved into the back of a van and then lit him up.
Yeah, and we shot this thing I'm holding right now.
The Arex. I like that thing. Weird Slovenian knock block.
Yeah, it surprised me. I got this sent to me for free, which is the best way to get used to a gun or get a gun.
It is indeed the best way.
It's the
other than that, either that or like following a high speed chase and just like looking along the side of the road. That's personally how I got all my pistols.
That's how you get full auto Glocks.
Yeah,
with switches.
I saw a picture of that. Yeah, someone found a
and it's Stendo. Stendos, like plenty of Stendos you can find following chases and auto sears in the back of Glocks. But the Arex, honestly, I thought I kind of like put Arex into like the group of like fake, like not fake Glocks, like Glock clones, like Canik or like the Turkish stuff, and that's totally not the case. Did you know that Slovenia is right below Austria?
Oh shit!
On the map, they're literally they border a lot. They border with Austria. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big geography guy, but this pistol made not too far from where Glocks are made.
Yeah,
and
that thing kind of fucks.
It does.
We were making reliable hits at 100 meters on a gong with it. Like
that was a blast. But I mean, I must say, the thing I think the best thing about this is the swappable back straps, and I think the plates on the optics ready version, which is the one I have, are really easy to swap out a bunch of different optics. And I'm not shilling too hard. Obviously,
you're shilling hard. I'm shilling like where half the people are like, "What the fuck?"
But like, I'm serious though. The Arex, you can find it on sale sometimes for like really cheap. I mean, it was just on sale for like $329. Like, the mag release is a little funky. It's a little bit more low profile.
I like the recessed.
It's pretty recessed, but once you get used to it, it's really not bad. But we put the Steiner MPS on it and ran the shit out of it.
Yeah. God, we burned that thing the fuck down. I'm pretty happy.
So, hey, if you're looking for a striker fired pistol and you don't want to go with Glock, you want to try something else, get your hands around the Arex Delta Gen 2 and just see how it feels.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We were out there shooting like an 8-inch Galil from Icon at like 300 yards. Yeah, that made hits. I was under the impression that like 8-inch barrels wouldn't stabilize 5.56, and I still won't go with them. Like if I have the choice as a duty weapon, I'll like 11.5 or longer. But like I didn't think it was capable of that, and it did it.
Yeah. Have you seen this guy, this YouTuber, Eric Petway? Have you seen him?
Yeah.
He's fun. He's funny to watch sometimes. I mean, he shot a full auto Glock 20. Yeah, he's got an SOT, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, he's got like destructive devices and shit.
Yeah. He's got a wild channel. He just put out a video where he, like, I don't follow him religiously or anything, but I just saw this pop up on my feed where he was like poking fun at. He did this whole thing where he was talking back and forth to a mannequin who he had set up with a vest. I think it was like I don't think it was a rifle rated vest, but he was just like arguing with this mannequin about ballistics, and he had an 8-inch AR and he shot the mannequin with the AR at 10 meters, and it punctured through both sides of the plate, but it wasn't like ceramic or anything. But he was just kind of joking about 8 inches. I guess 8 inches is about as small as I'll go. I need it to be bigger.
Bit of a size queen.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. We had a lot of like good, like there have been a lot of long drives this trip where we've just kind of fucking broed out. And something interesting, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, your scars, part of your history.
Oh yeah,
I think that
scars.
Could be, it's just like interesting for PSR lore.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know how many people like follow PSR to know. He's like weirdly jacked. like weirdly jacked. But you got a bit of a. I want to know how you got these scars. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, people have seen it on when I've gone low. When I've gone the route of less clothing on my channel, which is, by the way,
I fucking get it now.
You get it now. It's hot as fuck here.
Redacted sun is holy shit. I get it. Like I was running around just like LARPing and a plate carrier with plates and like a rain jacket and all that shit. Holy fuck! It's like a sauna.
Yeah. It's hot here. It's humid, and sometimes it gets a little bit less intense if you put take the layers off, and so sometimes I take all of the layers off, and except for some short shorts and my plate carrier, and you can see some of the scars. I got a little scar on the lower right half of my ab area, kind of, and then I got a little one up near my titty, and those are from a couple different things. I got the one on my titty from when I was 2 weeks old. I had a staph infection that I guess was a result of something that happened with my mom's milk, the breast milk that I was sucking on. For whatever reason, sometimes it happens with newborns, but I had this infection in my titty, and it was my left titty, and they said they didn't know what it was. So they were kind of like, you should go to the hospital immediately. My mom at 2 weeks took me to hospital. They didn't know what it was. They ran a bunch of tests. They stuck some needles in me, and my parents were all like kind of worried, like, oh God, this is serious maybe. And it turned out it wasn't super serious. Obviously, if they didn't treat it, it would have been probably fatal at some point. But staph infection, so they cut me open there, and they made a little incision, drained all the pus out, and good old pus drainage. Dr. Pimple Popper, if you haven't ever watched that.
Oh, dude, I can't. It made something like
Some
the
people
sheer
like
body
that.
horror, the fucking Cronenberg aspect of it.
Oh yeah, squirts. It's like sometimes, and then oh God, like we're not going to go into that too deep, but if you're one of those people, now you're visualizing it, and either I'm sorry or you're welcome. But yeah, so I drained it out, and apparently they had to keep it. Like my dad had to keep draining it every time to kind of keep it from getting super infected. And so I was doing antibiotics, but my dad always thought that I was going to hate him because I would just be crying uncontrollably. Obviously at 2 weeks old, there's a lot of pain there, but I don't remember it obviously. But then the other scar happened more recently, but it was like probably almost 15 years ago. I had a weird pains in my stomach for like most of my early teens, and they never knew what it was, and it was so painful. I used to have these really horrible stomach pains, and I had to go to the hospital a couple of times because it was just so intense. And I'm like pretty high pain threshold, pain tolerance. And so I would just not be able to even walk because it was so painful. I couldn't even I'd curl up in a ball. And sometimes if I ate, it would help.
Yeah.
And the doctors in the emergency room thought, okay, this is just bad cramps. But I was like, there's no way this is bad cramps.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what it was, and they just gave me morphine, and it would help. But then eventually I was on Nantucket Island visiting some family the night before Thanksgiving, and the pain came, and it was really bad again. So they took me to the ER, and they looked at me, and they said, you know what? It's weird that it's painful is like near your stomach area, but we should check to see if your appendix might be, a problem. So they gave me a whatever it was, MRI, and they saw that my appendix was just like right on the verge of bursting. So they're like, we have to do an emergency surgery tomorrow morning early. We're going to get this only surgeon on Nantucket Island, who is this old guy who the New York Times has written about him and stuff. He's like this OG dude who's just had this practice on the island, the only one, for years. And so this dude was named Dr. Lepery, and he came in and he said, we're just going to do a little, orthoscopic incision, pull out your appendix, like shouldn't take too long. You're just going to have 3 little cuts on you, because that's how they do it now. They used to do it the old school way. And so I was under for the surgery, and I woke up and looked down, and he came in the room and he said, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but I had to cut you open pretty bad." And I was I was wondering why. And he's like, "Yeah, well, your appendix was in, like, I've done 1,000 or more of these surgeries in my time." And he's like, older guy. He must have been in his 60s. And he's like, "I've never seen an appendix in the location where yours was. So I had to cut you really far to get up there. It was like tough. It was like wrapped near around my liver. It was like this just very odd location, which I don't know. Maybe I'm an alien of some kind, but
Yeah.
he pulled it out. Everything was successful, except for the fact that I have like a 6-inch appendix scar on me, and people think I don't, or I got my kidneys maybe
Just woke up in a bathtub full of ice,
that kind of
Call
situation.
a doctor if you want to live.
Yeah, which is a fun story to lie about. If anyone asks, I can, in the YouTube comments, sometimes I'll throw out something like that. But yeah, that's how I got my scars. I have one on my knee from tearing my ACL skiing, but yeah. Other than that, as far as scars go, I'm
What the one where you died?
Oh yeah. Well, that's not a scar, but I have a very healthy heart, but I had like this little condition called supraventricular tachycardia, where the heart will send a double pulse. And so when I was a teenager, I'd play a lot of sports, still play a lot of sports, but was playing football and rugby, and I got these weird like heart kind of palpitations, but it would be like this instant going from normal heart rate to double the heart rate. So what the doctor explained it to me as is basically your AV node, which is the electrical pulse in your heart. It sends it, and then the pathway is open somewhere, so it resends it when it's not supposed to be resent. So basically, the pulse happens, and then it doesn't stop and wait for the next pulse. It just keeps going, and so it would go literally twice the speed as what I was supposed to be, and it wouldn't happen unless I was exercising. So I'd be out on the football field, or I'd be out on playing rugby, and I remember one of the ways that I used to get rid of it is I would stand on my hands, and people would hold my feet up in the air, and I would go upside down. And that is one of the things that I don't know how I found out that it helped, because I just have no idea. I didn't look it up or anything, but then I found out later on that is a common thing for people that have this condition. That is a common thing for people to do, is stand on their head, like do a handstand, and it would go away. That's which is crazy that I've even found that out without doing any research. Yeah, but I mean,
died several times.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I was so young and so in shape, and my heart was so healthy. And they looked at my heart and they said, you have a perfectly model healthy heart. It's just like the electrical pulse. So if I would have kept going and live my life throughout my life, maybe later on in my life, it could have become something serious. But at the time, like, I was so healthy that there's no chance that my heart was going to like run over speed, Yeah.
I mean, and 250 is over speed.
Well, so that's what happened.
Yeah, not to spoil.
No. Well, I didn't know what it was, and they wanted to know exactly what the condition might be, because they didn't know if it was just like a murmur or something like that. So they put an EKG on me and then went to monitor it, and it would only happen every once in a while. It wouldn't happen every single time I exercise. So they said, you have to try to get this to happen, like, on purpose, to try to, when we'll record it and then we'll look at the data and figure out what it is. So I remember having these things, like these nodes, these monitors on me, like stuck to my chest, like a bunch on my back and on my chest to monitor the heart. And I couldn't get it to go. I remember going on like a 6-mile run, and then I would just sprint. And I noticed sometimes when I breathed in quick, it would start. And so I kept going. I just must have spent 2 hours just doing hard exercise. And I finally, in the midst of doing the slam dunk on a much lower hoop than regulation, I slam dunked it, and then I started, and my heart, doubled. My heart rate doubled. I ran inside, told my dad. My dad immediately called the monitoring number, and they're looking at it live at the EKG, and the woman says to my dad, like, "Oh my God," and my dad was like, "What?" And she's like, is your son okay? He's in the room, he's breathing, he's okay. And my dad was like, yeah, he's fine. Like he's sitting here. I mean, I was just sitting resting, but I could see, you could actually literally physically see my chest going do 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 do. And she's like, your son's heart rate is 260 beats per minute. And so my dad was like, wow. And I was like, oh, wow. Like this is normal for me when this happens, whatever. But the woman was like, that's like stroke speed. So so I had a couple options at that point. I wasn't an adult yet, but felt like this is something that I want to try to fix if I can. And there's a procedure that you can get done where they basically cauterize or burn a piece of your tissue. It's the pathway that allows that AV node to send that double pulse. So what they do is the surgeon was explaining it to me, as they go in and they take 2 microscopic wires and they go up through your arteries in your legs, and then they burn the piece of tissue that needs to be burned in order to stop the signal from going, continuing. And so I decided I would do it because I just didn't want to have that. I didn't want to live a life where I felt like I had to be careful when I was exercising. And there was like something like a 3 or 4% mortality rate for the surgery, which is a little scary, but I just said, I'd rather like live life. And I was a teenager, so I was just like, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
I was kind of a little bit, just that.
The same grasp on mortality you do is.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it's a little different, but I just said, fuck it, let's do it. So I went in for surgery. They hooked up these pads to right below my heart on the left side of my rib cage, and then one on my back. And I didn't really know what they were. They didn't really tell me what they were. They may have mentioned like, oh, this is for the end of the surgery or something like that, or like this is for something. And I didn't know what they were, but they fucking put a catheter on me, which was not fun. So I'm like here, and I'm like a teenager, and I've got this fucking thing on my dick in case I piss myself. And they say like,
do they have to shove the tube up there, or was it just like a bag?
It was just like a condom, kind of. It was just like a condom that they put over your dick in case you piss. And then it goes into a bag or whatever.
It sounds efficient. I should just wear one.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, hey, if you should sell. I mean, snipers probably do that, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Fucking they shit while they're looking through the scope. It's just next level.
I mean, same. I'm not a sniper.
The spotter wipes them, dude. No shit. No, that's the real deal. That's
no shit.
Well, yes, shit. Yes, wipe. Yes, looking through the scope. Your homie, the spotter, is wiping.
That's what homies are for.
Exactly. You're not a real homie unless they wipe your ass for you while you're sniping. But anyway, regardless of the catheter, it was a little awkward when I was a teenager and having a catheter on your dick going in for, I guess it's not open heart surgery, but it was heart surgery. And so I go in and they couldn't put me to sleep. I could not be unconscious for the procedure. So they gave me these drugs that kind of made me kind of go into a daze a little bit. I felt like groggy, but I was not passed out. And they put me on the operating table. And the way that they do the surgery is the surgeons are in a different part of the room, tucked behind a curtain, and they're remotely controlling these wires. So it's like kind of like robotics in a way, or it's an extension of the surgeons are doing it remotely. And then I was just sitting there, and I remember just like looking up, and there was just like lights down on me. There was no one around me or anything. I was just alone on this table. And then they gave me this medication that made my heart go into tachycardia so that they could locate where the tissue needed to be cauterized. So I start to feel groggy and whatnot. And then this procedure is supposed to take around 2 to 3 hours max. And I remember just going in and out of consciousness and I started sweating because my heart rate was going fast. And I remember just feeling like just kind of like the worst fever dream you could be in, except it's like reality, but you think maybe it could be a dream.
I imagine like robotic tentacles snaking their way up my arteries would not be pleasant.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had to make incisions in my thighs, small incisions, but they numbed that, so I didn't really feel them cutting into me and putting the wires through my arteries. But I just remember sweating and being like just uncomfortable, but not really being able to move. It was kind of like kind of like sleep paralysis, although I've never really experienced it, but from what I've heard, kind of sleep paralysis like that, but you see demons and shit. But I wasn't seeing demons. But then I came to at one point, and I heard both of the surgeons, there was two of them, they were screaming they were like yelling at each other and swearing at each other.
Not what you want your fucking surgeons to do.
No, dude. And they were the most calm dudes that, like, before that, when I met them before that.
Literally heart surgeons. So you like, that's the top of their job is stay calm.
Dude, and so I was like, they were just like, get it fucking in there right now. No, that's wrong. And then he's like, and these dudes, they're going back and forth and just like, F this, F that, like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I'm going to die. Yeah. I am fully dead. Like this, maybe I am already dead. Maybe this is hell. No, but I was very, very scared at the moment, but I couldn't really be scared because I was so on drugs from what they were giving me. And then I came to, but when I came to, it was the most insane feeling to this point in my life I've ever felt. I felt like I had just taken like 1,000 cans of Monster Energy all at once to the face, snorting them somehow. And I was immediately curled up in a ball, shaking uncontrollably. I felt like someone just like slapped me as hard as possible, but like getting slapped over your entire body, you know, like if like 100 hands just slapped you as hard as you could. And then I was just shaking uncontrollably, and my feet and I was curled up in a ball, and all the nurses came over and they like said, "Oh, you're okay. They like, you know, put their hands on me, like kind of lowered my legs back down on the table. And I asked them, because I immediately thought I was having a seizure, because I was just like, I've never shaken like this before. This is insane. I was just uncontrollably shaking. And they're like, no, you didn't have a seizure. You know, we had to give you a little shock, but you're okay now. Yeah. And so they defibrillated me on the table. I didn't know that was common, but apparently that's what they do at the end of the procedure in order to get your heart rate out of tachycardia back to normal. Yeah. And they didn't tell me, of course, that that's what
they probably don't want you like.
Yeah, well, if they would have told me, we're going to inject you with like 1 million volts of electricity via fucking defibrillator. Yeah, that's what those pads were on my front, and I had a burn mark for like a month and a half on my rib cage and on my back where they had the pads, and it was just straight burn from the electricity on that. And to this day I've never felt anything like that. I imagine that's what it's like to get tased.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's probably maybe a little bit more intense than getting tased. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
I want to believe that, but maybe not. I guess I haven't gotten tased, so hopefully
it's to restart your heart. Well, not restart your heart, but to put it, in a healthy reset.
Reset. Yeah. So hit the reset button.
Yeah. We had kind of a bonding moment in the car over how just kind of shitty and awful resorts are. As weird as that. So last week I went to the Dominican. I kind of got pulled along on a thing. It was just wonderful, and I'm super, super, super grateful for my friends who trust me enough to pull me on a family vacation, and I really appreciate it. But there's something really weird about being on a resort in a third world country. It feels maybe this is me. Like I'm neither white nor liberal, so I don't want to be like, oh, it's white liberal guilt, but like it feels fucking wrong almost. You can't really explain it.
Yeah, I had one experience. Only been to one real resort, and I was in Jamaica. It was for a cousin's wedding, and God bless my cousin and his wife. They're very sweet, great people. But this wouldn't have been a place where I necessarily would have wanted to get married. But it was fun to be around family. But at the same time, it is a very interesting dynamic with. If you're in a resort and there's like walls, like large, big walls around, and they're like, don't leave, don't leave this premises. Like, they kind of keep track of you and make sure that doesn't happen. And then you've got all sorts of weird other folks around, like just like kind of being dicks to the people that are serving them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your experience?
I can't stand that. Yeah. It's like people being rude to the servers, people. And like these are people who are being trucked in from like peasant villages, and towns around the city, being paid maybe like $1 or $2 US a day to wait hand and foot on just like opulent Western people, and it just felt fucking wrong somehow. And I'm not going to judge people. Like I enjoyed myself. I'll be the first to admit that. I don't think mine was quite as bad as yours. Like there weren't walls and armed guards. There's just like I could walk in and out as I chose, but we were warned. Like be careful, be careful. But at the same time, it's like seeing, fat Western people treat the locals like shit when they're like, there's a few things that I'll always do. Like if I get a hotel room, I'll clean the hotel room when I leave. Like I'll just like bunch the sheets up. I'll put all the trash in the trash can. I'll bag it up. Just like make the job a little bit easier. Or same if I eat. And this applies at like a restaurant. It applies at, I'm not going to judge other people for not doing it. But it is very weird to me when people go like, why are you doing that? No, it's their job. No, it's like,
Yeah.
it's weird when people do that. And it's especially weird when it's like you're purposely making it hard for the people who are getting paid dick. And I just don't understand that mindset. It's like that weird. And I grew up in I didn't really grow up wanting. Like, after I was old enough to move out on my own, it was tough. Like I didn't exactly have a silver spoon at that point, but like growing up, I didn't struggle. But seeing this just made me feel fucking bad.
Yeah.
Like, and you tip people $1 and it's like what they make in a day. They seem so grateful for anything. And like, I wouldn't say don't go to, like, their economy relies on it. But I guess if you do go, just don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good policy, I think.
Yeah.
And just, it does also, while you are sitting and getting your drinks made and all that stuff, like, it is important to, it is a reminder, it's like, oh, well, I'm pretty lucky to be where I'm at. And I can just be here as like, this is my vacation. And, they go back to, they don't sleep there usually.
No, they get trucked in like an hour each way every day.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. That
Beautiful places usually. Though.
Beautiful. That kind of reminds me, like I was with my little group and we went on a tour, and one of the guys, we were with, like, this really makes you, consider how lucky you are, living in a first world country. And it does. But in the same time, and I couldn't help this cross my mind, I guarantee their mental health is a fuckload better than ours. I guarantee these people, and like it is proven, these people are a lot happier than we are on average. Yeah. So like, yes, am I happy? I have clean drinking water, and I, have a car, and have the ability to. Yes, I am. But like, they do have a sense of community that we absolutely don't.
Yeah, I definitely envy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's part of the fabric of kind of our societies. It's like, it's this rugged individualism, and you go get out and get it, which is great in itself in some ways. In other ways, it's tough because it's sometimes people just, you can forge those, really important, lasting relationships with people around you. And I think it's more important for us to reach out to our neighbors, regardless of their political views, and try to just find commonalities with our with our fellow humans, right? And so,
absolutely.
And that way you build somewhat of a communal feeling, at least, so your neighbor's not some fucking weirdo. Yeah. And you can be like, hey, you want some? We made some apple pie, at the very least, or you can hang out with them and start to understand them and relate to them. And that maybe you can go to them if some horrible thing was to happen, I can trust this person or whatever it is, and I can be supported and support them. So I think we are lacking that right now in a bigger way than we ever have, in terms of this country. And the emphasis needs to be put more on, I think, reaching out to each other rather than, finding commonalities rather than finding differences. And I know it's kind of a cheesy, easy way to say it, but it feels more divisive in this, relationships between people in this country than ever. And I think we need to,
anger is addictive. Like I envy the people who don't have, internet access. I envy the people who's like, life is a little simpler, I think. Like
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier too to when you're on the internet and this person's just got a profile picture and you're like, okay, you said this stupid thing, I'm gonna fucking own you, and you are nothing but a little piece of shit that I'm going to and I'm gonna like talk shit about. And then when you do it after you're done with it, you really feel any better? No, you don't.
But it's addicting.
It is totally addicting.
Yeah.
It's totally addicting, just like buying stuff is.
Yeah. Oh,
do you feel better after you buy stuff?
For a minute.
Yeah. And then if it's something that you use and you get use out of, I totally support that. And if it's something that, like you say, like I say to this myself when I move and I purge some of the stuff that I have. I'm not like a hoarder, but whenever we move, we kind of realize, oh wow,
why do I have this?
Yeah, why do I have this? And I try to ask myself, does this bring me joy? And if it brings me joy, I usually keep it. If it doesn't bring me joy, I try to toss it.
Like, when's the last time I even saw this fucking thing?
Yeah, exactly. Do all of my guns bring me joy? Absolutely. All of my fucking 50 pistols that I have.
I'm gonna fucking. You have more than 15 pistols. There's no fucking way you have 15 pistols, dude. I got here and fucking PSR drives me to his house, and he's like, so right before I picked you up, I got and he just pulls a fucking Glock out of his pocket, still in like a plastic bag. It was like in fucking cling wrap or something. It's like, I got a 45 Glock. I'm putting 10mm slide. It's like, dude, you just fucking get this on the way to the airport?
Yes, I picked him up from the airport, and on the way, I stopped and bought a Glock. It was a police trade-in though, so I got a good deal on it. By the way. But yeah, the 45 cal. The 45 ACP Glocks, I'd never fired one for, and I always want one. Really I like it. It's actually surprisingly low recoil compared to some of the other 45s I've shot. But the Glock 21, got it mainly to swap out this 10mm slide I have. Yeah. So yes, but does it bring me joy? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I need it? No.
Yeah. And then the next day, it's like, hey, I got to show you this cool little gun store. It closes in half an hour. We go there. It's like, hey, we got AKs 30% off. Just grabs one off the wall. He looks at me. He goes, should I? And I look at him like, I can't make that decision for you. And he just fucking buys it.
Yeah, I bought the AK.
It was worth it. It was a good decision.
It was a good decision because
you just needed to make it on your own.
Yes, exactly. And yes, can spending spending money on guns. I guess if you have a gun YouTube channel, it's a little bit easier to make that decision.
Absolutely. And that thing fucks. We ran it a little bit now.
Yes, the KR-103 by Kalashnikov USA. I only had Yugo AKs to that point. I didn't have many AKs, so I had two, which is, I guess, for a lot of people don't even have AKs. Very lucky to have AKs, but I wanted to get a AK-103 pattern, and obviously I'm not gonna throw out whatever $3,000 for a Saiga. Yeah. So I just decided to go with the KR-103. Nice chrome line barrel. Yeah. Forged trunnion. I like what I see from them. I'm gonna try to maybe do a little tack it out, get a rail on there, put an optic, maybe rattle can it. But I
think you should. Yeah. No, it's like, I know fucking fuck about AKs, but it's great. Like I like them. That one we played with today. This also, like, the city of Redacted and AKs kind of go together like fucking mac and cheese.
Yes. Dracos.
Dracos. I think you just outed what city this is.
Well,
it could be Redacted or Los Angeles. It's not Los Angeles.
You know that Dracos are imported in Century Arms, which is in Georgia, Vermont, which is the small ass town that I grew up in Vermont.
Really?
Georgia, Vermont. Yep.
Really?
Funny enough.
That's kind of an irony to that.
So Draco's from Georgia.
Yeah, Draco got that kickback.
Indeed. Ride around town with a Draco. DRACO.
Anyways, I'm curious as to your thoughts about the murder of reporter Michael Hastings.
Oh man, so yeah, schizo rant time. Well, it's interesting. I mean,
we've had a couple of those. I don't know why it's taking like 50 minutes to get into it, but like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. So I became aware of this, and I'm not saying that he got murdered, for the record. Okay.
I am. I'm saying this for the record. I am saying for the record, Michael Hastings was murdered by the CIA.
It's it's interesting because he was a very vocal opponent of some of the, I guess you'd call them policies and tactics of the Obama administration. And he did a big piece in Rolling Stone, the reporter, about General McChrystal and the Iraq War, and General McChrystal and other officials' feelings about some of the civilian leadership in terms of the Iraq War and whatnot, and they didn't have a lot of good things to say about them. And eventually that resulted in General McChrystal's resigning, right? And Michael Hastings, who wrote this big expose on the situation, he's actually from a couple towns over from where I grew up in Vermont. And he went to a high school that was a big rival of ours. I used to play football against them. So he went to Rice High School in Vermont, which kind of side note. But Michael Hastings ended up becoming this big war correspondent in both Iraq and Afghanistan, embedded with certain troops. And he had written also about General Petraeus. He's a general, but I know he was like the head of the CIA at one point, I think. Petraeus.
Petraeus, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was not a good thing that it was not like a shining endorsement of General Petraeus, or I don't know if it's general, or let's just say Petraeus. And
I believe he's a general.
Yeah, I think so. And just the Obama administration, he was a big critic of. So he was working on some other stuff. He had written a book, and mysteriously, he kind of, from what I understand, apparently, and just checking out the Wikipedia, he had experienced when he was earlier on in his life, like in his late teens, he had experienced some manic episodes and had struggled with drugs. And I guess what his brother had said, so this is how he died. Michael Hastings died in a car accident, quote unquote car accident,
yes.
In LA on Melrose and Highland Avenue. And I don't know what month, but it was in 2013 this happened. And he was traveling at a rate of speed that was pretty insane. He was driving a Mercedes coupe. It's a C230 coupe, I think, or something like that. He was driving basically at as fast as that car would go, maybe 130 miles an hour, 120 miles an hour, down Highland Avenue, which in LA, it's like I think it's got 2 lanes on each side of the road and a bunch of trees in the middle of this. Because I've seen the footage of the wreck. And so there's 2 lanes on each side and a bunch of palm trees in the middle, this median, right? He's flying in car, and there's witnesses that have seen, what the car looked like. And they said they saw sparks coming from underneath the car. And that could have been him hitting the suspension, bottoming out, hitting going at 130, hitting when you go over a bump, the bottom of the car scrapes against the pavement. Could have been that, or who knows what it was, but he lost control going like 120, 130, and he hit one of those palm trees, and instantly the car exploded, just blew up in flames. And apparently the engine block was ejected 60 yards. They found the engine block 60 yards from the impact site, and his body was entirely incinerated. They had fingerprints on him that they were able to identify who he was, but they basically couldn't identify him. They found a way to get his fingerprints, but he was more or less instantly killed, which is good because he just would have burned alive, but the impact did enough. And there was multiple witnesses that said that they heard like a giant explosion before they heard something before he hit the trees. Whether or not he was murdered, let's just say we do know that the FBI had a profile on him. This came out later on that the FBI had a file about Michael Hastings.
That's interesting that, the implications of the FBI keeping files on reporters that are inconvenient for the administration. That's kind of...
Not necessarily a super great feeling that leaves you with there. But this is all on Wikipedia. I just checked out the Wikipedia to kind of refresh my mind. But it says here in the Wikipedia about Michael Hastings that he crashed into a palm tree. The video described it bursting into flames. It was ejected 50 or 60 yards, the engine from the scene. And within 2 days after the crash, the LAPD declared that there were no signs of foul play. Coroner's report ruled the death to be an accident. And it's interesting. His brother, Michael Hastings' brother, his older brother, said that he had flown to LA shortly before the accident because he had gotten the impression that he was having a manic episode similar to the one he had when he was a teenager. And he tried to get him to come back to Vermont to like voluntarily go into a drug rehab program. He started to disconnect from his brother, and he snuck out of the apartment while he was sleeping. That's what his brother said. And then he crashed. And there's just some questions and some odd things. Maybe it's a coincidence that he was under investigation by the FBI and that he had some information maybe that they didn't want to be released. I know that from what I could understand, from what I read a while ago, and I have to kind of look again, but he said that he was preparing new reports on the CIA at the time of his death. And
there it is.
And WikiLeaks actually announced that he had contacted Jennifer Robinson, one of his lawyers, a few hours prior to the crash, and had reported that he was preparing new reports on the CIA. And the FBI released a statement denying that Hastings was ever under investigation by the agency. According to alternative newspaper LA Weekly, his neighbor, Jordana Thigpen, had said that Hastings came into her apartment after midnight and urgently asked to borrow her Volvo, saying that he was afraid to drive his own car.
Oh.
However,
well, it's not a new thing for the CIA, like very much publicly on record, sabotaging vehicles to kill the occupants.
Yeah, there are conflicting opinions, it says here on Wikipedia, as to Hastings' death. After his death, some media outlets recalled that Hastings said he had received death threats from the military after his McChrystal article. It's very, very interesting, just the fact that all of those things, and he was writing something about the CIA, it could have been very well a tragic accident, but there's obviously some really interesting tidbits that raise some questions.
Yeah.
And it's a little sketchy. So then
just a little bit.
So then what happened was after September 24th, 2013, the FBI came public with the file that they had on Michael Hastings after this investigative journalist, Jason Leupold, and MIT doctoral candidate Brian Shapiro filed a joint suit in July against the FBI for ignoring their request for the file. So the FBI failed to respond to the requests within the allotted 20-day period, and as a result, I guess these were put out. And on August 15th, the Leupold said the Department of Justice has indicated that the FBI has likely located responsive records pertaining to investigative journalist Michael Hastings. So then at that point, Al Jazeera picked it up, and I guess it said the FBI's Washington field office had opened a file on Hastings in June 2012 to store, quote, unclassified media articles and, quote, memorialize controversial reporting by Rolling Stone magazine on June 7th, which is that was when he released this article about McChrystal. So the attorney that filed the lawsuit, Jeff Light, suggested that it was uncommon for the FBI to open such files on reporters.
Yeah, that has some dark implications. Just the idea of opening files on reporters in general without actually having any indication of a crime being committed, especially reporters that are I mean, it's not the first time, and it's definitely not the last. The FBI has been weaponized against potential political opponents or people who make the administration look bad. All administrations, I'm not pointing fingers specifically at. But I find it interesting.
Yes. And yeah, for any federal agents listening to this, I totally don't believe he was murdered by any government agency at all.
Except for you, RCMP. Fuck you.
But yes, regardless, rest in peace to Michael Hastings, who probably ruffled one too many feathers, unfortunately.
And it's very sad that happens.
And a fellow Vermonter, too.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting, moving forward from Michael Hastings, but also talking a little bit about the government's control on our personal property and whatnot. And like the fact that nowadays I was thinking, we were talking about cars and stuff and, what cars we drive. And it's really interesting because we live in an age now where cars can be hacked.
Yeah.
Completely.
I don't like
hacked.
that at all.
And your steering now is under control. Like now all of those automated steering, like, oh, we kept you in the lane because you were drifting out of the lane and the steering wheel turns.
Yeah, my dad's car does that.
That can be hacked.
Horrifies me.
That can be hacked. The ride by wire gas now, it's not manual gas. It's electronically controlled by wire.
Yeah. That
can be hacked. Your brakes can be hacked. Your e-brake is no longer something you can manually pull because it's a button.
Yeah.
So
I don't like that.
All of that stuff leaves us, and I'm not talking about necessarily the government, but anyone, being able to hack your car and decide this is your day to die and sending you off a cliff or whatever it is, or into another car.
Yeah.
And that's fucking terrifying.
It is. And especially with the push recently to push everyone into electric vehicles. And I'm seeing, and it's not just electric vehicles, gas vehicles are like this too. It's all the modern safety standards and everything else. So all of these features are becoming the norm. Even, your base model Civic is going to be on the grid. Everything's, automated. Everything's at the push of a button. Everything is, I was in Idaho a little while ago and going over the border of Idaho in 2022 vehicle, it goes, "Welcome to Idaho. Welcome to Washington." It's bizarre. And I drive like a 2014 fucking Prius V, and it's dope. I love it. And even that, it's just like it's still, as far as a hybrid goes, very like not attached to the grid, doesn't download updates. There's like a very basic GPS that I'm going to get disabled, but that's it. But at the same time, I think my next vehicle to go along with it's going to be like a 2000 friggin' Tacoma or a Hilux or something similar. Just something completely manual.
Yes.
Something that,
Do you drive manual transmission?
Not well, but yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, same. Yeah, I don't have a manual right now, but I grew up driving a manual Tacoma. Yeah, a little two-wheel driver. But I think it's interesting when you think of the technology that's progressing, and hopefully one of these companies, I doubt it, because it seems like this would be a stupid idea, but I think maybe enough people, if we make it known, we just want a car that's like, how there was that kind of revolution, so to speak, of like people using quote unquote dumb phones, like flip phones. Yeah. Even though they weren't that successful, maybe the car equivalent of that would be kind of nice, Yeah. But I just doubt that that's going to happen with all of the technology that's being put into cars and the safety standards. Now you have to have a reverse camera on your car if it's new, in the US at least. But I think it's interesting. I was, your experience with the Welcome to Idaho thing. I was experiencing renting a car recently where I would be driving and then it said and maybe this is just like, oh, you've been driving for a certain amount of time, but I know that there's some vehicles that monitor your eyes and how much you blink, and then tell you that it's time to take a rest, it's time to take a break and drive off take a break and
takes over the car and pulls onto the shoulder.
Not yet, but it might as well.
Yeah, no,
at this point, I'm sure a Tesla probably does that to a degree, but it's just and yes, this is a schizo rant, so of course we're going to talk about lack of control over your car and if someone was to hack it. But I mean, it's not saying that it's not possible. I wonder, going back to the Michael Hastings thing, at what point in a 2013 or whatever it was, a 2012 Mercedes, What
It'd be
what
top
they
of the
would,
line. Like,
yeah.
as
Well,
much.
what would they do to that car? Would they have put some sort of remote, like let's say they put a remote thing that just pins the gas, right?
Yeah.
And they can just hit the remote and it'll pin the gas and there'll just be nothing, and they'll disable the brakes. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what happened.
Yeah.
In that situation, what do you do?
Yeah, nothing.
I mean, imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. If
Just
all
like
of
the
a
last
sudden
few seconds of your life.
your car
Yeah.
just goes full gas and you're in a Mercedes. It's got a V6. It's got probably 260 horsepower. And you're flying down Highland Ave in LA at 3 a.m. and you think the government's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's the situation. Maybe it was he was having a manic episode and he wanted to. I mean, his brother maintains to this day that he believes his brother's death was completely like there was no foul play at all, and that he just was having a manic episode. And they did find trace amounts of like I think it was like Adderall or something like that, and like weed. But it was like so little that he couldn't have been high when it happened.
Yeah. I also I'm very skeptical of like when they say they found something. It's like, oh well, they found Stephen Paddock with bump stocks on his AR-15s. I always get skeptical of
Exactly,
whatever
what the coroner's report is or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
or like that first responder and how many people have committed suicide, found in a field with 2 bullets in their head.
Yeah. That Oklahoma City was that one you were talking about.
Yeah, and like the Vegas thing, and there's a lot of like first responders that end up dead to certain sketchy things. Not too long afterwards.
Yeah,
and a couple people involved with the Michael Hasting death end up.
You know what? It's I'm not entirely positive. What if they got silenced or got suicided? But I know there were witnesses that talked about seeing like an explosion before he hit the trees. But I mean, he was going so fast, I mean, I think if there was foul play involved, it sounds like something was, altered in his vehicle that caused the crash. But we never know. What's really interesting though is that this actress, I don't know if you saw this recently, also in LA, had her Mini Cooper drive like straight into a car. I mean, straight into a house at full speed. Similarly, where they just saw her like.
Was she in it?
Oh yeah. She died.
Oh.
She drove into a house, and there's footage of her. I forget the actress's name, but she was. Funny enough, she was. I know, and we're going full tinfoil.
No, dude, it's that's I'm fucking here.
She was working on a it wasn't a documentary, but it was basically based on a true story film about sex trafficking, and it was about Jeffrey Epstein's victims.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have information that will lead to the arrest of Hillary. VR, please censor those last 2 names.
Yeah, so
I did not kill myself.
No, neither did I.
Please just beep over that.
Yeah, so so this particular sex trafficker who we all know, she was making it was a show about some of his victims, right?
Yeah.
And it was supposed to still come out, I guess, but she was part of the production team, or I don't know if I don't think she was directing it, but she was maybe a producer on it or something like that. And she very strangely died in a very similar situation to Michael Hastings in LA, where there's video of her coming down the street, like driving down the street in her Mini, and it sounds like the tires are squealing.
Yeah.
Tires are squealing, but yet she's going full speed.
Yeah.
There's photos so she just runs into this house and then catches fire. The car catches fire after she runs in the house, right?
Yeah.
Like a huge fire. They pull her out. The photos of the tires in the Mini their tires are completely bald.
Fuck. So she was braking.
She was braking, and you can hear it when she's driving by, the screech of the tires, right?
Yeah.
She was braking. The footage of her from above, of her getting like put into the stretcher,
Yeah.
She lifts herself out of the stretcher.
Yeah.
Like she tries to get out of the stretcher, and then the EMTs and firefighters like push her down into the stretcher and lock her in the stretcher as they throw her into the ambulance, and it's extremely sus.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like being this guy because I'm really like I see these things and I'm like, that's odd.
Yeah,
there's something really odd about that.
Yeah.
Do I necessarily believe it was foul play? No, but it's very strange.
It's very
that she died of her wound, of her burns, and yet she's like lifting herself out of the thing and looks like completely fine. But then they like push her back into the stretcher and then throw her into the ambulance.
Yeah,
there's footage of this. It's out there. At least if it was a couple weeks ago. But
yeah, dude, I
need to find the name of this actress.
Yeah, fuck, that is something else. That. My mind jumps to that video that you.
Her name is Anna Hetch.
Anna Hetch.
And it was ruled an
Heche.
Yeah, it was ruled an accident.
You know, she unfortunately died of her wounds. Ignore the 2 bullets put into her head. You know, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I need to see because there's a video of. Yeah, and that's her car after. I mean, a car shouldn't just explode into flames when it hits a house. This is the video footage where you can hear it. Listen. Oh, we can hear it.
Yeah, maybe this. Holy fuck. Yeah,
you see how fast she's going.
Yeah.
And there's the boom.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't necessarily, and there's a footage or a photo of her Mini Cooper in it.
That is surprisingly intact.
Yeah, but it's also completely burned.
Yeah,
entirely on the front. That isn't necessarily what should happen if a car hits a house.
Yeah, like the house is weirdly intact, the car is weirdly intact. It's just burned.
It burned very, very badly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like anything around this whole Epstein thing. And, people will be like, oh, Nathan, you schizo. Oh, you're people forget that conspiracy theorists, and this is like FOIA information. This is stuff that they've admitted to. The term conspiracy theorist was created to discredit anyone who questions any of the official narratives. And whenever I see something odd, I never say, oh, I mean, yes, I do. But I never go, oh, I actually have the answers to this. Like, oh, they did this to promote the New World Order thing to make us eat all the bugs. It's like, no, this narrative just doesn't add up. What we're being fed is simply not what we see.
This is crazy. Yeah, so I'm looking at this. They said that they're not, the LAPD just after, like a couple of days after the crash, they said that they're not going to continue the investigation.
Of course they're not.
And any information or records that have been requested prior to this turn of events will still be collected as they arrive in a manner of formalities and including the overall case. But they said that they are concluding the investigation. And the weirdest thing is it said that her toxicology report said that her blood test said that she had tested positive for both cocaine and fentanyl. However, they explained that the latter could have been due to a medication she was given at the hospital to manage her pain after the accident. It's just very
odd.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very odd.
There, when you see the foot, like that whole front of that Mini Cooper is completely burned.
Yeah.
And
the hood is weirdly intact. Normally, figure would have kind of. I don't know enough about crash dynamics or physics, but
yeah, and it's just extremely sad. Obviously,
of course,
when anyone dies in a fiery car crash like that, and
especially when they're killed by the CIA.
Yeah,
or Jeffrey Epstein's rich friends. Who was that died a little while ago? Jean-Luc Brunel committed suicide in prison as well.
Yeah, that's an odd one. That's an odd one too.
Yeah, I'm not going to deep dive that. However, you mentioned another one. We'll the kids on the tracks.
Oh my God, do we even want to talk about this one?
Should we? I don't know.
Well, you should just watch the Wendigoon
Yes.
YouTube channel's video on that.
Isaiah is wonderful, and anyone who's listening to this, he does a better job than we could to get into this. Look up the Kids in the Tracks YouTube video and prepare to make yourself schizophrenic.
So just one last thing to talk about here.
Oh, yeah, there she is in the stretcher.
So here she is on the stretcher. We're looking at the footage. They're wheeling around the stretcher here. There's a helicopter shot from overhead and above. The firefighters are wheeling around the stretcher into an ambulance. And right here, I think you're going to see, they go around the ambulance and she pops right up.
Oh, yeah. Like she
tries to get up and then boom.
Nope. And I
mean, maybe she looks pretty badly burned, but I don't know. It's hard to tell.
It's hard to say.
Hard to say, but very interesting.
It's kind of a little weird that she had the covering like over her face and she's still alive.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in that seeing that? I
don't think so.
I thought she was covered up like a body.
Yeah.
And she popped out of the body bag almost.
Yeah. That was
fucking
freaky.
Weird.
Very fucking weird and very freaky.
I don't know what to make about that. I think I might be a little more schizophrenic now.
Yeah, slightly. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But like, I'm not, because I'm really not a conspiratory theorist guy.
But the fact that you have to say that, it feels, and I say it too. It's like I'm not a conspirator. Like
I'm legitimately scared of the government. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's totally okay because like I mean, kind of me too.
Call me a pussy, but I think the United States government, if they want to kill you, they'll find.
They'll fucking kill you, and they do all the time. It's like I see all these people, and like hell, like I think Q and all that is dumb. It's fucking dumb. I think and honestly, I'm kind of the mind that it was artificially created to,
what was
Q. Like, yeah. But I'm of the mind. It's like, oh, well, you people are talking about how the government is satanic and evil and they kill all these people, which we know that they kill a lot of people. It is known, if you look back, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, all of the declassified information with the things that they do all the time, the things that they've publicly admitted to, like assassination attempts in other countries, coup attempts in other countries, successful coups in other countries.
I mean, killing the leaders of black militias.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
100%.
FBI having a full-on task force for that.
Yeah. Like Charles Manson even. Was a creation. And this is public knowledge now. There's a creation of, I believe, the CIA to infiltrate leftist militia groups or whatever.
Yeah.
Like hippie insurrectionists. The history is just repeating itself. They do the same fucking thing again and again and again and again. And like they do these things overseas all the time. Who's to say they won't just do it here? They aren't just doing it here because they are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's both the public assassinations of in our wars that we wage, and then there's the ones that go behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And we have so many as a world superpower, we have so many different arms of our government in different places, and I get that it's done under the blanket guise of national security.
Yeah. Justifies anything for the blanket guise of national security.
You can, and that's how the Patriot Act happened.
Yep.
And we look back at that, and that was a tremendous moment for the tearing away of our freedoms and our liberties as Americans, and in this age of technology.
Yeah.
And we continue to see more and more impacts from the Patriot Act just making their way into our lives, everyday lives. And I don't want to get into the 9/11's coming up. I won't get into that one.
Yeah.
But there is some oddities around that. And we're not going to go too hard on that. But obviously it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter whether or not it happened, whether it was facilitated or whether it was like a straight up cover up or whether it was just an unfortunate accident fortunate plan that got overlooked by our government and we didn't see it coming, or saw it coming and decided to ignore it. It was obviously tragic and changed the course of this country's history forever.
Yeah.
And
the entire world, really.
The entire world.
Yeah. But Can we kind of like talk about how fucked up it was that like George Bush and other people are making jokes about Iraq now? That's
I find that to be sickening.
Actually.
And I remember being very against the war when it happened.
Yeah.
And I understand why we wanted to get bin Laden.
Yeah, me too.
But I remember just hearing this, even as like a young kid, hearing this argument about weapons of mass destruction and there being this general, just this fever for war. It just started, you could tell like in the country, it was just like gearing up. All of the news outlets gearing up for, like, this is horrible. They need democracy now. These people are being gassed, and like, if we don't do something about it, they need democracy. Like, we are the world police. It's time to free them.
Yeah.
And was Saddam Hussein a horrible leader? Yeah. But Iraq, I've talked to people who've been, lived in Iraq before and after the war. Well, before the war, and they said it was an entirely different place, and it was not necessarily. It was not in shambles.
No,
it did not become
quite developed, especially in the region.
And like I said, that doesn't justify like Saddam Hussein being a shitty guy and a dictator and all of that, and gassed a bunch of people. But like, did we need to do that? Did we need to put all of our dedicated soldiers and servicemen and women at risk, and all of the pain and all of the pain that we not only brought to our soldiers but to the civilians that just were in the line of fire there? I mean, I'm not saying that taking away from anyone's service or anything that was part of that war, but it just, I listen to a lot of veterans say that they just feel like kind of betrayed.
Yeah, honestly, almost everyone I know who served, over or not, has felt like the entire thing's a waste, and feels betrayed, feels misled. Like I will be the first. Like, I joined up because of the militant fervor around bin Laden. Like, we gotta get bin Laden. We they attacked us. We gotta get them. And it took a while to the propaganda is effective. It's effective.
And it's amazing to me that actually looking back on it, they were able to rope in Saddam Hussein to 9/11.
Yeah.
Somehow having some relationship to that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that we as American citizens were able to do those mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
We were fed that. Obviously, we're fed the seeds to develop the mental gymnastics to come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Very directly through all of the main media sources, whether it was left or right, CNN or Fox or whatever it was. It was all, weapons of mass destruction, democracy, horrible atrocities, and then having something to do with 9/11. They said that. Yeah. They said that Saddam Hussein had some kind of hand in that, or was harboring terrorists that had, and it's just, Iraq is completely different. Afghanistan, I get. I get why they wanted to get bin Laden. He was in Afghanistan, in Pakistan. And, Al Qaeda was responsible for it. So I get that. And I get the desire to avenge the deaths of so many innocent civilians. Yeah. And that is what started the drums banging for war. Yeah. And I get that. But the Iraq thing is just, perplexing. It's just sad to look back on it.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. There's a page that I follow that I really enjoy. I believe this is going to be very in character. The username on Instagram, I don't know what he is. I don't use Twitter. I only have Instagram. It's Schizoland, Schizo with a 0. But he formerly known as Jinx. He does make really, really fun little supercuts set to entertaining music of just headlines and people talking, and taken, regardless of what context you take it in, it's very damning. And one of them was a supercut. I believe it was him. It could have been someone else, but it was very much his style of a lot of the defense staff and the president talking about Iraq kind of during and afterwards, being like, no, it was about the economy, it was about oil. This is the whole thing. And There's no consequences. No one ever paid anything for it. It just kind of and here we are being like, oh, Russia, Ukraine, and like I will condemn that 100%. I'll condemn any imperialism. I think it's stupid. But like, what was the difference?
Yeah.
What is the difference? It's just empire building. That's all it is, and all it ever was.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you said like no one paid the price. No one in big positions paid the price, but you know who paid the price the most?
Yeah,
was the
civilians and soldiers.
Civilians and soldiers.
Yeah.
And all of those people will go to their graves with those experiences they had.
Yeah, if they're not in their graves already because of it.
Exactly. And the feelings I remember having during those wars were, and especially with Afghanistan just ending not that long ago.
Yeah.
But early on in, the Iraq War, I think there was a side that really was like, for some reason, somehow taking it out on the American troops in ways, and like being like, disparaging American troops when like they are not the problem. The problem are the men in the suits that set the plans to bring, these soldiers into situations that they shouldn't be in and we shouldn't be in. Yeah. Just like the guys in Russia right now that are conscripts that have to, they were poor and they wanted to get some money, and they got conscripted into the Russian military, and now they're getting their legs blown off by fucking U.S. made anti-tank missiles, which is, it's just like, do we blame those people? But we view them as like orcs and whatnot because they're for the side that we don't like. But that's how the rest of the world viewed our troops, and like even in the U.S., there's this disdain for the troops, and I've never believed ever in that feeling, because it's just like the troops are there serving the country, and the people deciding what to do with those troops are the ones that we need to put the pressure on, and that they need to feel the consequences. But unfortunately, they never do. Just like George Bush joking about how it was he made like a mistake in his speech, but I thought it was kind of like
he called it Iraq instead of Ukraine. He was condemning the invasion of Iraq, and then he corrects himself. And I thought it was edited. I thought it was like
a deep fake. Yeah, but it actually wasn't. George Bush really said, and I honestly, I had a hard time believing he mistook that. I think he intentionally meant to say it as a joke, almost as if he like felt guilty.
Yeah, Freudian slip.
Yeah, it was like a Freudian slip, but like it was an intentional Freudian slip. Partially, I want to believe that because I think he was like, he got a laugh from the crowd after he said it. And then like when you think about it, it's like, what is a former president, like when they make that joke, what are they, in my eyes, I saw it as him almost admitting to people that he was wrong.
Yeah.
Which I guess, like in a fucked up way, that's an interesting, like, I guess that's a good thing that he knows that what he did was wrong. But I think he knew what he was doing was wrong all along, but he had to, because there's all those people around him. Yeah, like Mr. Dick Cheney. Yeah, and all of the other guys around that were, we need this war. We need to go to war. And he's just the guy that was like, okay,
Yeah. All right. And
I'm the son of the former President George Bush who, put the assault weapons ban in. Thanks, George Bush Sr.
Fuck you, George Bush Sr.
Yeah. So it's just, that moment was a tough one to watch, man. And I can imagine if you're a veteran of the Iraq War, maybe you lost a bunch of friends. Maybe you got maybe you're in a wheelchair and you've, had to live with the pain that you felt both like mentally, emotionally, physically from that war. And you hear that president who sent you there joking about it and comparing it to Russia right now and their invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. That's gotta do it.
It's gotta fucking hurt.
Yeah.
Genuinely, it's gotta hurt. And it gets me, man. It fucking gets me. And it's sad. Like, who defines who's good and bad? Because it's like, if you take away all the propaganda, if you take away everything, there's not really a lot of difference between the empires. There really isn't.
No.
And that goes way, way, way back. History is written by the victors. Always.
It is.
And I also wonder, and it kind of lives in my head rent free, the differences between like the early 2000s, the 60s with Vietnam, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and now, because and I've brought this up before, it's like the mass dissemination of information. It's like the whole thing with you can't really restrict the flow of information anymore. And it kind of comes into what you do. It's like you can't stop 3D printing guns. Once that's out there, it's out there. You can't stop information because of the new networks that are kind of ground up instead of top to down. Like before, we had CNN, we had Fox. This is what we had. You know, the media that was, you know, government approved and given down to us. And I mean, anyone who's listened to this podcast before probably knows about Operation Mockingbird, and you know, have you heard of that?
I don't think so.
Okay, this is declassified. This is like not conspiracy theory so much as it is. This is pretty well accepted fact, where it was a concerted effort by the CIA to bring in most major media establishments under government control. And it took several years. They managed to, and you know, this is declassified again. This is all available online on government websites. Operation Mockingbird, to bring media under, and they got CNN. You know, they got New York Times. They got everyone, and it basically ends with the operation was a resounding success. We have plants in everything, and it just ends. It just like, there's no, we got rid of this operation. There's no, you know, so and so was deemed unethical. Like they just stop reporting about it. You know, the FOIA documents end with, "Hey, it worked," and then the assumption is like, "Oh, you know, they got rid of it eventually," and you know, no, they never did. It worked.
No.
Like,
It's programming.
Yeah, I said, and like, say what you will, like that group of people, they send people on dates with hidden cameras with people in various positions. Some of them are kind of edited a little deceptively, but some things like you can't take out of. And I remember seeing one a little while ago where they had one of the tech directors from CNN. He said something that kind of chilled me a little. And God, what was his name? Chris. I can't remember, but anyone who Googles this will be able to find it. He talks about how there's a little red phone in the back room, and sometimes, you know, they'll get a call and they'll be like, "No, we need you to spin this way. We need you to report this. This is how we want you to present X story," and they do it. And you know, it was passed over as a little, you know, like, haha, you know, oh, you know, news is biased, and I think the implications are a lot darker than that.
Yeah. I mean, as we believe, you know, in this country, in this democracy, and in our form of, you know, our government, and just the way of life that we enjoy as Americans, we really want to believe, you know, that the reporters would not intentionally try to spin something in the way of the government's favor, right?
Yeah.
And getting people, you know, controlling people in a way that's deceptive, right?
Absolutely.
But we see it in other big empires. We see it in Russia.
Yeah.
You know,
China.
In China. I mean, we see that to a large extent, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard for me as just, you know, as a citizen, you know, to believe that, oh, we're in America. It's never like that. You know, it's just a different flavor of it.
Exactly. It's you know, they just don't admit it here.
Yeah.
Charlie Chester was the guy's name. I just looked it up.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. No, I recommend it. It's pretty creepy. It's
fuck.
You know, he talks a lot about it, and like I think it's two things. It's like, you know, it's government intervention, but also this weird. And I am absolutely not going to talk about, oh yes, we should bring the news media under government control, so and so. Like this is a condemnation of for-profit media, but it is not saying that, you know, this is not me suggesting an alternative, but the move into the worrisome merger of news media and entertainment, and the movement into for-profit enterprise, which exists to like keep people angry and scared, keep them watching, sell more ad time, and it's reciprocal, and people get so desensitized that the next headline has to be, more shocking and awful, and then more shocking and awful, and Donald Trump did this, like January 6th insurrectionists did that. Oh, the pedophiles are doing X, Y, and it's so designed to keep people angry. And there are things to be angry about. There's absolutely things to be angry about, but I just keep on thinking about those villagers in the Dominican. I think about them, and I kind of envy them in some ways.
Yeah, as do I, man, as do I.
Dude, the world is a fuck. I didn't expect us to go down that deep of a hole with
It got kind of serious, huh?
Yeah, which is okay. Like we have the schizo rants with Garrett sometimes. I want you to meet him. Like he's going to be down in a couple weeks, and if we're going to do a road trip, maybe we should all hang out.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been
Irishman.
It's been a good chat.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not suicidal, and neither is Nathan.
Yeah.
Myself.
I don't do drugs. I drive like an old man. I very rarely go more than 5 or 10 over the speed limit, and usually it's under because gas is expensive. I have no suicidal tendencies, and I like life quite a bit.
Yeah, same here. I love life. I love where I'm at, and for the record, I have zero distrust in the government.
Me too. Government's great.
Government's
I love
awesome.
them. RCMP are fantastic.
Yeah,
I love Justin Trudeau. Yeah. I love Joe Biden.
Same.
I condemn Jeffrey Epstein, but I think he was a sole actor.
Yeah,
and he was a lone wolf.
Totally. And there's no way President Obama dropped the most drone missiles of all the presidents.
No, I don't think so
That
either.
didn't
That
happen.
90% fatality rate was fake news.
Yep.
I mean,
George Bush and Dick Cheney, great guys too.
Wonderful, absolutely. Yeah. Not warmongers that killed millions of innocent people for empire building and to
There's no reason Dick Cheney, as a former CEO of Halliburton, would have ever wanted to invade a country to support his former company. That would never happen.
It's kind of fucked up.
What?
The polls in terms of like, and never trust polls. Never trust polls. But the polls for who supports foreign military intervention in Ukraine, like American troops on the ground, sorted by income, because like working class resoundingly against sending troops away, and the more money you make, it went up to people I think who made over 200,000 a year. I might be wrong, but like the upper echelons of income were resoundingly for. I think it was over 60% where yes, we should have. It's the people who make the most money who've the least to lose are resoundingly in favor of sending American children to like. I don't even care. You're 18 years old, like 17. You just joined the army. You're 18, like you're a child.
Yeah,
you're a fucking child.
And we saw it in Vietnam too.
Yeah,
the rich senators.
Yeah,
just like CCR said. Yeah, I'm not no senator's son.
Yeah,
and those are the people that are just fine with sending your brother, your sister, your daughter, your son to go get slaughtered.
Absolutely. Just so they can raise the stock price of BAE Systems and fucking Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, look at Ukraine right now. Now we're in a like global Western ammo shortage because of all the fucking weapons and missiles and everything we're selling them. Who's going to profit?
Yeah, and you know what? And we need to confiscate more assault weapons. And you need to donate your assault weapons. Okay. You just donate them to Ukraine. Go to your local FFL. That's not an ITAR violation or anything. Just send those scary AR-15s and AK-47s to the real ones that need them. Okay. Disarm yourself. Okay. Please disarm yourself. It's for the good of the people. Okay. You're a threat to society. And we know that society will be a completely safe place without assault weapons.
Absolutely. Assault weapons bad. Ukraine good.
Ukraine, yes. We want the Ukrainians to have the assault weapons.
Absolutely.
They are going to be killing other people that we don't like.
Exactly.
Yes, but
ignore
here-
the 1488s on their written on their magazines. Ignore the Black Suns.
Yeah. Azov Battalion, totally cool guys. No, look, I mean, I understand their military is like...
It's like the beggars can't be choosers right now. I fucking get it. This is not me supporting Russia at all.
No, and neither it is me. And fuck Russia, doing what they're doing right now. I believe it's completely unjust and unwarranted.
Like,
and it's
imperialism of all flavors is bad.
Exactly. But also, we are basically, this is our Mujahideen moment, except we're arming like known Nazis. So
I genuinely wonder what the blowback of this is going to be in 20 years. Genuinely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Ukraine Ukraine's, in terms of their ideology is much more aligned with like a Western one, or at least they want it to be.
Yeah.
But what are the consequences? It's a little different than arming Mujahideen, who eventually became the Taliban, who we fought with our own weapons that we donated to them. But
or the creation of ISIS, which was basically the same.
Exactly. But yes, what happens when the extremist version? I mean, because I know there's always extremists in every group, right?
Absolutely.
And there's definitely some extremist Nazi dudes in the Ukrainian military.
Yeah.
Okay. And
the loudest and most fringe of an ideology usually are the ones that gain power. We're seeing it now.
And they've got anti-tank missiles now. Sick.
Yeah.
Tight.
Like, dope. Let's see what happens after this fucking power vacuum,
Yeah. And fuck the Russian imperialism too.
100%. Like it's all fucked. Like condemning one, this is something I've always had a problem with. It's like you condemn one thing, it does not automatically make you in support of another thing.
No.
Like you condemn Joe Biden doesn't mean you like Trump, and vice versa. You condemn the Nazis doesn't mean you like Russia, and vice versa. Like
totally.
You're allowed to sit outside of these stupid fucking paradigms and make your own decisions because you're an adult. At least I assume you're an adult.
Yes.
If you're listening to this, if you're not an adult and you're listening to this, I'm sorry about the potty words.
Yeah, and we all know it's a verified fact that if you're on Twitter and your handle has a Ukrainian flag, that your opinion is the
fucking worthless
pinnacle of great opinions. Yes.
It's like, I support the current thing, just like on their 5th fucking booster shot or whatever.
It's an interesting place, Twitter, and it's kind of a fucked up place we're in currently in the world. But you know what? I try to look back, and this may be like concluding the episode, but I try to look back on the history of, we look back at like World War II. Like what did that feel like? That must have felt like we're all fucked.
Yeah.
Right.
And that it gets me too. And it's like, the Germans were doing awful, awful, awful things. But I will never, the Germans were doing awful things. There's no two ways around that. A lot of people were doing really awful things. There's no two ways around it. And I think about it. And it's like, that's the last time we've actually had like an enemy that's tangible.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, Vietnam was fucked up and should never have happened. The Korean War, we should have never gotten into that either, but we kind of created that in a way. And World War, it kind of sprouted out of World War II, obviously. Yeah. But I think when you look back on just not even from the who's the enemy and who's not, side of things, you just think about what must have been like in Europe in World War II, and the feeling of just utter desperation and utter just like complete chaos and not knowing what the future is going to be like. And when you compare that to today, at least where we're at right now in the United States, there's a lot of different dark things that we're facing, but I feel like when you kind of compare it, it's like, okay, maybe we're going to be okay,
Maybe. I hope so. I hope so.
I am hopeful.
A lot of the people we bring on, and like I hate to say, even me sometimes, like I want to have a good view of the future. I really do, and things are looking pretty bleak right now. But worst case, we go to the Dominican, we just start a farm. We start having those worries, I guess.
There you go. Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, I feel like fucking Canada is going to be like the last place that, like rural Canada.
Yeah. I don't know, dude.
It gets fucked up.
Yeah, it's.
No
I
one's
want to
gonna
get the
nuke Canada, bro.
I don't know, dude. There's a lot of like important NATO shipping lanes and ports and stuff. Like the
Yikes.
city in which I reside is actually like fairly high in strategic targets list. I want to get out of there for other
Fuck.
reasons. But yeah, it's like
Well,
I don't want to move to rural Canada. If I'm going to move, I'm just going to move out of lame fucking like cashless commie land. It's
yeah.
yeah.
Well, got things to look forward to. And if you're listening to this and you're feeling down about the state of things in the world, you're not alone.
Absolutely.
And also, there is hope. And, the human struggle is a thing that has existed for a long time. And we are complex creatures, but we're also simple creatures. And we just want to be loved and love. And that is how I'll leave it.
I like that. I was going to segue into dad advice, but I guess I could double. No, actually, no. Give some dad advice. Come on, PSR. I find it really funny. This entire time we've mentioned printing guns like once.
I know, right?
And the Arex Delta, which we have no professional relationship with. The pistols are fucking kind of dope, actually.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the fact that I got it for free, I if it sucked, I would admit that it sucks, but I'm really liking it, and
I need to fucking burn that thing down, dude. I want you to
I'm gonna run the piss out of it.
Yeah, we ran like I don't know, like hundreds of rounds through, and you've ran a couple hundred more, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's got a much slimmer profile than it's like doesn't feel like a block in your hands like a Glock does. It's just, and it kind of the slide actually kind of looks like the Laugo Alien. If you've ever seen that's a gun that's on my bucket list.
It's like
right
the CC-75, but like weird and alien.
Dude,
I love it.
And it was designed by the designer of the CC Scorpion. Did you know that?
I did not. Yes. That's why the frame looks so similar.
Yeah. This dude Laugo. So I would say a dad advice. I'm gonna leave it with kids like at least when I was a kid, I looked up to my dad so much because he was silly.
Yeah.
And he was not afraid to be silly. And so you shouldn't ever be afraid to be silly and make jokes and fart and goof off and let your kids experience their older male role model having a sense of humor and being able to let go and be vulnerable. And I know I took it seriously, but that's how I feel.
I like it. Like
be vulnerable with your kids and show them that while their dad is strong, he's also can be very very vulnerable and gentle. And I think that's totally cool.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, no, I'm inclined to agree. For my dad advice, I'm going to be kind of like weird, and some people are going to roll their eyes really hard, but take a look at the ingredients in your food. Take a look at that fucking butter might not be butter. It might just be like hydrogenated fucking soybean oil or some shit. Maybe just get some butter, Maybe like the restaurants that serve, maybe just go to like Cracker Barrel. I don't know. Maybe don't go to Waffle House. I like Waffle House, but fuck, did it make me sick. But yeah, check your ingredients on your shit and stop eating fucking. I'm not going to be like, oh, seed oils make your dick small or whatever. Like, everything's bad for you if you take a lot, and probably seed oils are bad. I don't know. I need to look into it more. Colin Underdahl's teaching me a bit about it, but at the same time, like, I do know that it's not as good for you as fucking butter. So, yeah, check your ingredients. Okay, bye.